The night was thick, with an inky darkness that seemed to swallow the road ahead. The only source of light was the feeble glow of my car's headlights, creating a tunnel of visibility that stretched just a few yards in front of me. The desolate highway wound through dense woods on either side, their branches looming like skeletal fingers waiting to snatch anything that dared to venture too close. I was on my way back from a late-night business meeting, the clock on the dashboard ticking past midnight. The hum of the engine and the rhythmic thud of the tires on the pavement were the only sounds in the eerie silence. I had chosen this shortcut to save time, but as the minutes ticked by, the isolation of the road began to gnaw at my nerves. The GPS signal flickered intermittently, leaving me alone with the glow of the moon that occasionally broke through the thick canopy above. An uneasy feeling settled in the pit of my stomach, a primal instinct warning me of the danger that lurked in the shadows. I tried to shake off the unease, telling myself it was just exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. The road seemed to stretch endlessly, the monotony broken only by the occasional flicker of a road sign. The trees pressed closer, their twisted limbs casting long, distorted shadows on the asphalt. I turned up the volume of the radio, attempting to drown out the oppressive silence with mindless chatter, but even the music felt like a feeble attempt to push back the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, my headlights flickered, plunging me into a momentary abyss of blackness. Panic gripped me as I wrestled with the steering wheel, heart pounding in my chest. The lights flickered again, and this time they went out completely. I was left blind, hurtling through the night at breakneck speed. My hands clenched the wheel, knuckles turning white as I desperately tried to regain control. The car veered wildly, the tires screeching against the asphalt. I could feel the cold sweat on my forehead as the darkness outside seemed to devour me whole. Frantic, I fumbled for my phone, praying for its feeble glow to guide me. With trembling hands, I managed to dial the number for roadside assistance. The voice on the other end was cold and robotic, a stark contrast to the fear that gripped me. They promised to send help, but couldn't give an estimated arrival time. Stranded in the heart of the night, I felt like prey, waiting for the inevitable predator. As I sat alone in the oppressive darkness, strange noises began to emerge from the woods. The rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, and distant howls that sent shivers down my spine. I strained my eyes, peering into the blackness beyond the reach of my phone's feeble glow, half expecting to see pairs of gleaming eyes staring back at me. Time seemed to stretch into an agonizing eternity. The occasional hoot of an owl or the distant cry of a creature I couldn't identify added to the symphony of the night. I tried to rationalize the sounds, convincing myself it was just the normal cacophony of the wilderness, but every creak and crackle in the darkness intensified my paranoia. Hours passed, and the cold seeped through the car's interior, wrapping around me like a sinister embrace. My breath hung in the air, a visible testament to the plummeting temperature. I glanced at the clock, each second ticking by like a slow, deliberate countdown to some unknown horror. Just as despair threatened to consume me entirely, a distant set of headlights pierced the darkness. Relief washed over me as a tow truck pulled up behind my immobile car. The driver, clad in a worn-out uniform, approached with a practiced nonchalance that failed to mask the weariness etched into his features. "Car trouble?" he asked, the glow of his flashlight casting long, distorted shadows on the road. I nodded, my voice barely a whisper. The lights went out, and I lost control, stranded here ever since. He scratched his stubble and glanced around, as if sizing up the desolation of the surroundings. "Well, let's see if we can get you out of here then." As he worked on my car, I couldn't shake the feeling that his eyes lingered on the surrounding woods a moment too long. The forest seemed to close in, the trees whispering secrets that I couldn't decipher. I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat growing with each passing second. Finally, the tow truck driver stood up, wiping his hands on a rag. "Should be good to go now, just take it easy on the road." I thanked him, the gratitude genuine but overshadowed by the lingering unease. As I pulled away from the scene of my breakdown, the tow truck driver remained in my rearview mirror, a solitary figure swallowed by the vastness of the night. The road stretched before me once more, the desolation unchanged. The trees, now more menacing than ever, seemed to reach for me as I sped past. I couldn't shake the feeling that something lingered just